The Vice team steps aside to let a batch of half-dressed newcomers fight some crime on a particularly weird episode of Miami Vice. Leap of Faith was directed by Robert Escove and written by Robert Ward. Not only is it the third of Miami Vice's 4 so-called lost episodes, it's also the backdoor pilot for a Miami Vice spin-off series that was ultimately never made. A backdoor pilot is when a brand new series launches as an episode of an existing series. The most famous example is probably the way A Different World started as an episode of The Cosby Show. There's very little Crockett and Tubbs in this, and there's absolutely no Castillo, no Gina, no Trudy, no Switek. Instead, we just get a bunch of brand new characters. Crockett and Tubbs are undercover at a bar crammed with college students, where a kid in spandex tights is on stage lip-syncing to Paradise City by Guns N' Roses. They're investigating a professor named Terry Baines, who has developed a synthetic designer drug known as Bliss. Also working undercover on this case is Joey Harden, Crockett's young protege who we first met back in Line of Fire, who is once again played by Justin Lazard. A thuggish dude at the bar identifies Crockett as a cop, and Crockett and Tubbs get into a brawl. In the chaos, they lose track of their target, a college kid named Peter Ladd, who is working closely with Terry Baines. Peter, who is tripping balls on Terry's drug, is brought to a rooftop by Terry's lackeys. Terry is played by Keith Gordon, who had starred in Christine and The Legend of Billie Jean, though he's much better known as a director. At the time of this episode, he'd already directed the feature film adaptation of Robert Cormier's The Chocolate War. Terry convinces a drugged-up Peter to jump to his death off the building. At Vice headquarters, Crockett and Joey try to pull Terry's file, but find it blocked. Crockett pays a visit to the cop who blocked it, Captain Paul Cutter, with whom Crockett shares an acrimonious history. Cutter is played by Hill Street Blues star Kiel Martin. Cutter has developed a new squad called the YCU, the Young Criminals Unit, which is comprised of hip young cops who can convincingly pose as college students. The YCU is conducting its own investigation into Terry Baines, and after much squabbling, Cutter convinces Crockett to let Joey Harden join his squad. So Joey shows up at a shooting range to meet Cutter and his new squad mates, who include Zach, played by Cameron Dye, who showed up in 80s films like Valley Girl and The Last Starfighter, and Ray, played by Adam Storke, who is best known for playing Larry Underwood in the 1994 miniseries version of The Stand. Introductions are made in a scene dripping with super awkward exposition, like they're trying to cram in as much background information about each new character as quickly as possible. For instance, Ray's very first words to Joey are, "I'm into surfboards and bikinis, and I come from Long Beach," which is a totally natural and organic way to introduce yourself to a new coworker. Every single outfit in this episode is just bananas, by the way. You can make the argument that this is a terribly unnecessary episode, but as far as I'm concerned, it's worth it just for the utterly bizarre and glorious outfits that Joey, Ray, and Zach all wear. So many belly shirts. Joey also meets the final member of the squad, tech expert Tanya, who dresses like an adult, and who is played by Just Shoot Me's Laura San Giacomo, who'd have herself a pretty good year in 1989 with big roles in Pretty Woman and Sex Lies and Videotape. Joey and Ray attend Terry's lecture on dream analysis, where Joey sucks up to the professor while Ray flirts with a pretty student named Claire, played by Nightmare on Elm Street 3's Jennifer Rubin. Terry, who is hot for Claire, becomes agitated when he sees her with Ray. Notice the book Joey is carrying, Missing Hours by Lou DeLong. That is a beautifully executed Miami Vice in-joke. Lou DeLong was the character played by James Brown in the infamous Season 4 alien abduction episode Missing Hours. Terry throws a pool party at his home, while Kiss Me When I Get Back by Talking Heads side project Tom Tom Club plays. Zach poses as a shy nerd and attracts Terry's attention. Joey breaks into Terry's office to snoop around while Ray and Claire grope in the hallway. Claire and Ray sneak off to a bedroom to swill Dom Perignon out of coffee mugs because college kids are barbarians, then roll around in bed together to What I Am by Edie Brickell and New Bohemians. Claire tells Ray about Terry's former girlfriend Lisa, who was almost certainly murdered by Terry. Suspecting Joey has been snooping, Terry invites him into his office and engages in some erotically charged knife play with him because Keith Gordon knows how to liven up a scene. Joey confesses he knows all about Terry's designer drug and tells him he's lined up a buyer for him. So Terry meets Cutter, who poses as Joey's potential buyer. Meanwhile, Ray walks around in a low-slung towel while chatting on the phone with Joey because Ray exists for fan service. Ray then gets an emergency call from Claire, who tells him she needs to meet him at Terry's office for poorly defined reasons. Claire and Ray snoop through Terry's files, and then they're caught by Terry and his goons. Next thing you know, Ray and Claire turn up dead. Joey, Zach, and Tanya all go to pieces, but Cutter yells at them and manhandles them into agreeing to finish the case. With Ray's death, Joey bravely dons the mantle of designated team member who must flaunt his abs at all times, while Zach gets a mid-episode makeover to make him look like Keanu Reeves circa The River's Edge. An undercover Zach approaches Terry and spins a yarn about his abusive father. This is catnip to Terry, who preys on fragile and sensitive students. Terry gives him a neck massage and slips hallucinogens in his coffee. Next thing you know, Zach is tripping balls while Terry observes his behavior. Zach wanders in front of a semi-truck and is narrowly rescued by Joey. Joey confronts Terry, claiming Cutter wants to back out of the deal because he's worried Zach will go to the police. Joey suggests getting rid of Zach. So Joey and Zach meet Terry and his goons on a rooftop. Zach, who pretends to still be hallucinating, prepares to jump off the side of the building at Joey's urging. Zach and Joey trick Terry into confessing to the murders of Peter and his ex-girlfriend Lisa, and then try to arrest him. Terry takes a security guard hostage, Cutter comes to the rescue, and in the resulting chaos, Terry somehow falls to his death off the side of the building. The episode ends with the surviving members of the Young Criminals Unit congratulating themselves on a job well done, apart from how poor Ray was murdered halfway through the assignment. This is an utterly terrible episode of Miami Vice. Miami Vice is an intelligent and meticulously constructed series with weighty recurring themes, whereas this is a splendid example of brainless trash TV. It's NBC's shameless attempt to simultaneously extend the Miami Vice brand and ride the coattails of 21 Jump Street, the 1987-1991 series about hot young undercover cops that launched Johnny Depp to fame and was a big ratings hit for the then-new Fox network. I was smack in the middle of the 21 Jump Street demographic when it aired, and I dearly loved that terrible show. Unlike Miami Vice's signature pairing of style and substance, this backdoor pilot has no substance. It's just entertaining eye candy. The actors are all very cute, and the story is pretty much an excuse for them to show some skin and mac on each other. Keith Gordon gives a pleasantly demented performance as Terry, and I admire his commitment to adding unnecessary sexual undertones to every scene he's in. As a Miami Vice episode, it only gets one flamingo. But as the pilot episode to a trashy new series that I would absolutely watch, I'm going to create an entirely new rating system and give it 5 bananas. Next time, Miami Vice gets serious again when Pam Grier returns in an episode that was yanked by NBC for being too dark. Please join me then, and in the meantime, please hit subscribe or chat with me on Twitter, and have a great week.